Alright, so welcome to the Masters, Nodal Wars, Robotic Masters versus Earth Forces test game. What I've gone ahead and done is rolled deployment for each side. There's a chart, so each time you can deploy either in a corner, on a side, towards the middle. It all depends on what you roll and what your capabilities for each force is. So basically each side has a kind of a corner section like this that they can start in. So the Earth Forces have deployed over in that corner over there. And then the Bioroids, or the Masters, are deployed on this side. So before you get going, the first thing to do on each turn is to obviously check your command points. One of these calibers for the Earth Forces is an officer, so they get one command point or leadership point, and then each one of the green officers generates two command points or action points or leader points, however you want to see it. They're actually leadership points is what the technical term is. So those are extra actions above and beyond the normal actions that the units get. So once you've gone ahead and filled your leadership goals, each side will roll initiative, and the Earth Forces rolled Snake Eyes, and the Bioroids got an 11. So on their sleds, they are just wicked fast, and they move just at 12 speed. So since these guys haven't done anything yet, what I can do is I want to save my leadership points for defensive actions, because those are really, really good at using them for defense. I can move some of these guys up, and I don't want to expose them too much, but I can move them up and fire. Let's see. So I can move these guys up over here. I'm going to try to move these guys. They're going to move twice. The blues have 3 action points. So they can move up there, and the greens actually have an additional action point even over that. Okay. Now, the bad thing about them is that their weapons are really short range, so they have a range of 4. So they can all shoot this guy. They're at 24 range, 22 to 24 range. So everything is in bands. So 1 to 4 would be a die 12, 5 to 8 would be a die 10, then you have 9 to 12 on an 8, then a 6 would be 13 to 16, and then out to 20 would be a 4. So these guys are really out of range from where they're at. So you have an extra action still for the Bioroids on the sleds. What I could do is zip them over here in the clear. And that way they are out of sight unless these fighters want to come up and take a shot at them. Or these guys have to move them, get them to where they can see them. So these guys are all in some heavy cover where they're at. And that was their action. And the green has one additional action. Since he's high up, he's actually at a range of 14. So that would be 4 dice, so it's a d6. So he can attack that Spartan if he wants with a single attack. So they have, what you do is you look at their gunnery. So he has a 3 gunnery. And the Spartan, if you look at his target rating, is a 5. So he has 3, you roll die 6, 4, that's 7. And if you look at it, the target rating was a 7, so he hit. Now the armor rating on this thing is a 6. So you roll d10 and look and see if there's any specials for the weapon or anything. Heavy one means it's just a little bit better at penetrating. It also has accurate. So 5, so it's +1, so he rolled a 6. So basically he went ahead and he hit the guy, and he did full damage. So they don't do a lot of damage, but it builds up quickly because they can really rapid fire those things a lot. So with a gun, he does 5 damage. So I'll go ahead and write down the Spartan 5. Usually I can have sheets for each one. I just didn't want to print out all the sheets, so I'm just going to do it by hand on paper, just as easy. So now the Earth Forces can move. Obviously, this guy can stay where he's at and take 2 pot shots at the guy, or he can move up and take a single pot shot. Now, he can move up and be in a closer range band, which might be better off. He can stay where he is. He can try to shoot missiles. He's got lots of options. Let's go ahead and move these guys first. These guys are going to move up here since they really can't do anything. And what I'm going to do is they have 2 actions. So I'm going to move them up 1. And then I'm going to put an Overwatch marker on them. So this is saying that these guys are ready to shoot at the other guys. The first thing that comes into range, whatever range it's at, the first time it appears, they're going to take a shot at it. They don't get to wait and optimize their range. That's the disadvantage of having it Overwatch. So these guys only go 5. So what I can do is I can get them over here prepped so they can go ahead and shoot them. So this guy can get closer and have a better range bracket and possibly shoot point blank range at this guy, or he can stay there and shoot. He's going to come right up in his face. And then, before I forget, these 2 guys are going to be on Overwatch. So the Spartans used one of his attacks. Now, one of these 2 is the leader. This one here, so he's got an extra action, but he's not going to be able to use that right now because he can't see anybody. So he's basically, that action gets wasted unless he's attacked later in his turn. So let's see, the Spartan, or the Gladiator, however you want to call him, he's also got a gun pod on him, which has a 5 range, so he's at point blank range. So his gunnery is a 2. So that blue on his sled has a target rating of 9. So he needs to get a 7 or better on a D12 at point blank range to be able to hit the guy. And he got an 8. So that guy, now he barely hit. Now here's the beauty of having these leadership points. So I can take 1 leadership point and burn it and add 1 to his target rating and make it so so you need an 8 to hit, which wouldn't be quite enough. So I can burn a second one, and so basically that makes it so that guy missed. And it's like his commander was saying, "Hey, watch out, duck back, he's coming after you." Like the green guy could see him and see what he was doing to do and see that he was coming up. So these guys are going to make their first move. And obviously, those 2 guys, the defenders, can see them from where they're at. So can both of those Excaliburs. So they are at a range 21 and 22. So the defenders are at a longer range bracket. So those guns on those defenders are really good ranged in their anti-aircraft. So that means things that are flying, which in essence are these guys, are a little bit easier to hit. So in this case, they're going to shoot at them. Both of them have a gunnery of 2. They get +1 for anti-aircraft, and the range is 9. So they're outside of 18 range. So they're at the 3rd range bracket, which will be a D8. So 12, 10, 8. So they have 8s that they get to use. The green, they need a 10 to hit. So they're going to need an 8 for both of these guys to hit them. Or they can shoot the blue, and he's a little bit easier to hit. He'll still be in the same range bracket. And so they can both shoot this blue over here, and instead of an 8, they'll need 7s or 8s. So both of those guys shoot, and neither one of them hit. Now, I could use a leadership point to boost the attack, but he's got some that he'll burn and count it, so there's no sense in that. The same thing for those tomahawks. So I'm going to go ahead and take these Overwatch tokens off. The tomahawks are going to both shoot that same blue, and they have the same chance. They need 7s or 8s, but they don't have anti-aircraft on it. So instead of a 7 or 8, what they're going to do is they're going to go ahead and shoot them, and they're going to need he's got 9, so they're going to need 7s, and they don't have that +1, which will make it a 6. So one of them hit. Now, what you do is you look at the guns, and they have heavy, which means they got +1 to their penetration roll. He rolled 8, which is he's going to do full damage. So the other guy, the only way not to take full damage is to really boost his armor rating, which is only a 2. So even if he uses both his leadership points that remain, he boosts up to 6, which means he's still going to take full damage. So it's not going to do any good. And they only take 5 damage, and one of those guns do 9. So that guy just basically got blown out of the air. So, which is okay, because they've gone ahead and used up all the other guys' action points. And these guys have only moved once. So he could have gone ahead and used his other actions. So he has, remember, those guys had 3 actions. He used 1 to move up there. He could have used the other actions, which 2 actions would have boosted a little bit. And then I could have used both of those leadership points and kept them alive, but man, it's okay. So he's going to move right there, so behind the building. This guy's going to move over here next to them. So they are at a range of basically, they're under 10 inch, which means that they're using a D10 to hit. So let me get my D10 and my other D10. So the good thing about these guys is that they're not only, they're pretty nasty because they have lots of action. So the blues use 2 of his actions moving up there, and then he's got an action to shoot. The green still has 2 actions, so he's going to take 2 shots. So the one shot, the guy's out far enough that he doesn't get any cover at all. So the blue, he has a gunnery of 2, and those guys have a target rating of 7. So he basically needs a 5 or better. So he gets a 1, so he misses. The other guy has a gunnery of 3, so he needs a 4 or better. So he hit once. And then the armor is pretty weak on those. And these guns have heavy, so they're good at penetrating. So he rolled a 4. The armor rating on these, it's a 4, so he still takes 12 damage. So he's going to take 5 damage to that, to the brown defender. Also takes 5. Okay, so now the Earth gets to use their fighters. Now, there's good and bad about the fighters. The good is that their missiles can do a lot of damage. The bad is that these Bioroids have enhanced, which means they're really, really hard to shoot down. So I'm going to go ahead and take these guys and make them transform. And so you sit there and you swap them out right where they're at, first thing. And these are all regular, so they have 2 actions each. So I'm going to go ahead and move them up. But they can fly, so he's going to come up here, come up here, and he's going to come over here. So basically now all 3 of them can see the guys and shoot from where they're at. So all 3 of those guys, they're going to be in range. So they're not within 5 inches. So all of them, he's going to be at longer range. So 2 of them are going to have D10s and one's going to get a D8 for the attack. So in Battleoid mode, they actually have a better gunnery. Their gunnery is a 3. So the target rating, they're going to shoot that green guy. Again, it's an 8, so they're going to need 7s to hit him. So 3 shots and 1 hit. Again, these guys are really, even up in your face, are really hard to hit. So there's 1 hit, Now I gotta see if it's gonna do full damage or part damage. So from their guns, oh, I'm looking at the wrong one. Okay, so they just have rapid fire, so they don't have anything to help penetrate. And the armor on this guy is a 5. So he rolls a 6, so he takes full damage. So he takes 6 damage, and they can take 7 damage, or he could burn both of his leadership points and boost his armor up a little bit to take half damage. So he can boost it once and take half damage, because boosting it twice isn't going to do any good. So the green Bioroid is going to take 3. So he's halfway gone, just not totally gone. And that was for all 3 of those guys. That's all they did. So the Bioroids still got another squad to move, and they still have a leadership point left over to spend. And now the thing is, what do they want to do with it? So this guy's exposed over here. So I'm going to go after, they're going to come over here. They're going to try to go after this Battloid. And they're 3 blue, but they're 3 blue veterans. So that means they got a little bit better piloting. Their gunnery is still the same though. They're just a little bit harder to hit than the other guy. So they each moved, because they're veterans, they do have an extra action. So they use 2 actions to move there. You know what? I might as well use 3 and just get them up here, all up into point blank range. And keep them kind of behind the building. So they're all going to be in short range. So their next action, so that's 3 actions in movement. They got another action to shoot. So all 3 of them are going to take a single shot. And a Battloid in the open like that, his target rating is a 7. So they all have a gunnery of 3 if I'm not mistaken. No, 2, sorry. Yep, the same. So they need 5. So 3 shots out of 5. 1, 2 hits. So each one does 5 damage. So I'm going to see how well his armor holds up. They're not very well armored at all. Plus these guys have, again, heavy, which gives them +1 to penetrate the armor. So this guy, his armor is only a 5. So basically a 5 and a 9 is what they rolled, because they get +1 for the heavy. So he takes full damage from each hit. So that is number 3. So Veritech 3 will take 10 damage. So that's the end of 1 turn. You see all the Bioroids haven't had any problem getting up there. They're up right in their faces. They're ready to rock and roll. But now it's going to be a little different to see what happens. So right now the Bioroids have 2 options. They're already up there. They can stay on their sleds and zip around and try to shoot some more, which could be good. Or they can get off their sleds, which means they'll be a little bit better, easier to hit. But if they have cover, they're harder to hit, or just as hard as when they're on the sled. The advantage of them being in cover though is that they can't be hit as easy, because they won't be up in the air and be able to be targeted by as many guys. So again, we'll go ahead and count up the leadership points for each side. Again, the Earth Forces will have 1. The other guys will get 4, 2 for each of their green leaders. And then we'll go ahead and stop it now. Go ahead and roll initiative for the next turn in a minute. And we'll go ahead and start the next part of the video.